Hey there, my name is Taylor Walden, and this is the Shop Talk with Radiate Prints podcast. Radiate Prints is the business that I own. It's located in Ayden, but we service all of Eastern North Carolina and beyond, creating custom apparel for businesses, schools, sports teams, family reunions, and just about everything in between. So if you need t-shirts, if you need gifts to give out with your logo on them, if you need embroidered hats, anything like that, I'm the person to call. Now that I've gotten that out of the way, I can tell you about our wonderful guest we have this week, Paul Adkison. Paul is an ECU alum, and after he graduated, he ended up starting this company in the late 90s that basically helped organizations like Coca-Cola and hospitals take what they were doing on pen and paper and turn it into something that they could do on a device like what we have as a cell phone now. In 2016, that company that Paul founded was sold to a publicly traded organization. Paul, together with his best friend and business partner, Scott Diggs, ended up kind of starting his own private equity home office. He tells us about some exciting projects, one of which is the new hotel in Downtown Greenville that him and Scott helped bring here. When I was a student at ECU, I met Paul and Scott, and I will never forget the impact they had on me and my business when I was at such an early stage and how they were able to kind of serve as an inspiration to me. So it felt kind of like coming full circle to have him on the podcast and get to hear even more about his business. And I hope that maybe some of the wisdom that Paul shares can have that same kind of impact on you. Hope you enjoy.
I did start a lawn care company when I was I think about 11, and a paper route at 12.
Okay.
And I kind of ran those in parallel. It was interesting. And this is it's not only just a life lesson for me, but it was actually a lot of business in there that I think I really learned from my dad. And unfortunately, it was kind of a hard lesson because I didn't understand it at the time. So I'll give you an example. So he told me that I had to get a job, and I'm 11, and what job can you do, right?
Right.
Just lawn care. So I went to the neighbors and went around, made a little flyer, literally in crayon, and put it in mailboxes, and I got a couple of bites, and then the neighbors said, come cut our yard. And I think I was cutting it for like around $10, if I remember.
It's a good deal.
It was a good deal. And I thought I was like rich. I got $10. I spent an hour and a half, It's phenomenal. And then I was using my dad's lawnmower and his gas and his little weed eater kind of thing. And I did it for like 3 weeks, and he pulled me aside and he said, you're using my lawnmower and my weed eater and my gas, and you can't do that because it's mine, and I don't want to break it. I don't want to wear it out. And so I'll tell you what I'm going to do. We're going to go down and buy you a lawnmower and stuff. We went down to Myers Park Hardware. I grew up in Charlotte. And what he also said was, and it was like, I want to remember, I think it was like maybe $146, and it was a push mower. And I was with a self-propelled mower, a really nice self-propelled mower that I was borrowing from him. And he said, I'm going to loan you this money, but you're going to have to actually pay me the money back with interest. I didn't even know what interest was. And I was like, I got to pay you back? You're my dad. Shouldn't you just give me this stuff? And so at that time, he was a banker.
Okay.
So he actually wrote up on, I remember this, it was a legal yellow pad, and he wrote up a amortization schedule for me,
your lawnmower.
for my lawnmower, and told me how many months I was going to pay him for a week and how much interest it was. And I remember my mom being so furious at him for doing that to me. But and he made me sign a loan document.
Oh my gosh!
And so that was a great experience, because I now understand that you have to go borrow money, match it with labor, create a business. You have, actual payments like a normal business would. And it didn't really sink into me until in high school, when I had some people working for me doing lawn care, that was a great lesson, because that's how business is. And he really was not being me. At the time, I thought he was being, a jerk. But the reality is he was trying to teach me a lesson. And it really, because I'm a visual learner. And when I got to see it and feel it, I was like, okay, that's how this works, And so fast forward, we turned this into, I had a paper route in the morning. I was doing lawn care in the afternoon. I was trying to play sports as well. I ended up getting my brother to help me out, and I had him cutting lawns for like $6, and I was getting 10. And fast forward, we're at my wedding, and I was kind of telling the story about this. And this particular time, I had him doing my paper route for me because I couldn't do the afternoon paper route. He had to do it for me. And he comes to find out that I was actually making money on him. He was like, gosh. I just found this out. You're just now making money on me. I thought I was making all the money. I was like, no, I got the paper route, So again, a business thing. So it was pretty, I think that was a very influential point. And I mean, telling me how to run a business, understanding a business, and, that's kind of how it started.
Did your dad ever run a business or anything, or was he just in banking?
No, he was in banking and did really well in banking and moved up in banking. And but yeah, he was just in banking almost his entire life.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when you did you go to college?
I did. I went to East Carolina University.
Okay.
Yep. And then off to Georgia Tech for grad school. Majored in finance at ECU and over to Georgia Tech for a master's in engineering.
So for the finance degree at ECU, were you thinking banking track for yourself like your dad?
I was totally thinking banking track, and so was my dad, and he got me my first job, and I went to New York City and hated it.
Okay.
It was not what I wanted to be, and I'm too, to be a banker, you have to think in the box. They do not want you to think out of the box, banker. Bankers are all herders. They all herd together. They flock together. They do things together. No one gets outside the box. That's where kind of your private equity guys kind of get. And I was definitely not a herder. I was not that kind of, and I had an engineering side of me that wanted to pursue something in technology. I just thought computer chips are cool. I wrote code. I just thought that was where I wanted to be, and not pushing a nickel over to, trying to get a nickel plus a penny. So I left that, and I went to work for a small manufacturer's rep company in North Carolina and South Carolina, and worked that for about 4 years or so. That's when I went back and got some advanced degrees, getting more engineering inclined. I ended up being a contractor at Northern Telecom and worked that for a while. And Northern Telecom back then, for those the audience don't know, was a big telecommunications company. They sold all of the equipment that goes into switchgear for cell phones to make it so you have call waiting, call forwarding, that kind of speed dial, that kind of stuff, which right now is very pedestrian for everybody. But so I did that for a while. I ran into some guys, and I was in Atlanta. That's where I got transferred down to. Lived in Atlanta, between Atlanta and Charlotte, and got some really cool experiences with that. I got traveled to Asia, Taiwan, Hong Kong, mainland China, and this was 1993, 94, 95, 96. Okay. So it was really cool experience to go over there and see before, everything kind of went a little bit crazy over there.
Yeah.
But it was really nice to see that, the manufacturing facilities and how they were scaling up and everything. So, and then after that, ran into a couple of guys in Atlanta. They were doing a healthcare business. One of my friends knew one of the guys, and they were asking for people to help them code for a database. And as a guy out of Atlanta Cardiology Group, and we wrote some code for those guys, made a little bit of money on that. Me and a guy named Bob Kepke, and we ended up doing pretty well on that little entrepreneur venture. And I was like, we need to do something else. And then after that went really well. I ended up starting a company called IQ Max, which we started that in 2001 with also an alum from East Carolina and a big Greenville native, Alan Thomas, whom you should probably have on your show. I think it would be great to have him here. He's a wealth of information and stories. And so that was in 2001, and it was really a company that we built. Originally, we were taking, and this is going to really date me, but we were taking the Palm Pilot, which was the predecessor to, say, the iPhone and all that stuff.
Okay.
You probably don't even know about that. No clue.
I remember my mom bringing home her first BlackBerry. Like, I actually remember it, but that's the
funny.
Earliest iteration of the cell phone I remember.
Yeah, so this was the BlackBerry's probably like, I don't know, I'm guessing like 2003 maybe.
Yeah.
That's when it became really popular. I'm guessing in that. But in 2001, there was like really personal digital assistants, and they were called like a Compact, which was made by HP, and then a Palm Pilot, which was made by Palm Pilot. And we were trying to, and at that time it was literally like a glorified Rolodex, just a digital Rolodex, just a contacts.
Okay.
And we kind of saw that the vision of the colliding of kind of all these contacts with a phone, a personal communication device. You would have your email on it, and we were going, how can we leverage this for business? How can we treat this as an enterprise, tool?
Right.
And at that time, the units didn't have enough memory in them. They didn't have enough CPU power. And so we actually physically built hardware that plugged into it that gave it all this things. And one of the things it gave it was this rapid access to memory. And we really made this adaptation onto the Palm Pilot that would make it an enterprise machine. So we started down that path, and it ended up being that the hardware companies were thinking way ahead of us, and they just beat us to it, which is great because we really didn't want to be a hardware company. I wanted to be a software company, not a hardware company. So I was like, great, we'll jettison this. We'll just take your hardware, we'll map it with our software, and we'll come up with an enterprise tool or enterprise way to leverage this hardware.
And why did you want to be a software company and not a hardware company?
I just felt hardware companies, it was harder to protect your intellectual property. I think that the way to build the walls around a hardware company was very difficult and expensive, and typically you would be overrun by the HPs, the Dells, the IBMs, the Apple at that time, and I felt like it was harder to defend. It was very costly, and it was just a timing of the marketplace. And I felt like software was more scalable, more leverageable. Had a greater valuation, and we kind of proved that in the Microsoft IBM model, So we always wanted to be a software company and focused on enterprise. And so we did this whole SWOT analysis that I learned in business, and kind of came up with a couple of verticals. We went out and went to those verticals. We were looking at service delivery. So we went to Coca-Cola, we went to Pepsi, went to all the beverage companies because they had a lot of route salespeople that were mobile and needed something.
So what would it do for like a delivery driver? It
could have, and we kind of started building this for Coke, and I'll tell you that story. It's very interesting how that came about. So we're building an MVP for Coke in essence, and it was for their route salespeople to walk in and look at what was being sold, and to determine what beverages to put in the coolers that were being sold, or what they want to push and where to push them. And there's a whole science behind that, which is kind of, you being a consumer, you just walk into the 7-Eleven, you pop open, you get a Coke, and you walk out, and you don't think anything of it. But there's a whole science on why that Coke's there, where it is, So this would allow the route salespeople easy access to understand data and to place the right product at the right time in the right space. And then calculate all their information on what they delivered. And right now they were doing that with a notebook and literally like a pen and paper. So we started down that path, and we were also going down healthcare, because healthcare is such a, all their workers are mobile. They're not at a desk really. And we loved the healthcare segment. It was super big industry. I mean, I think the second GDP. And then Coke came back to us and said, hey, we really like this thing you're doing. We want to kind of look at a contract. So we started getting a contract together. And it basically said that we couldn't sell it to anybody else ever. And I was like, that sounds like I'm a developer for you. And that didn't seem like a great business. So I did not like that. I was building a business into a cul-de-sac, which I hate, because you have to reverse and come back out, And I was like, no, I don't think so. We actually said no to them. And I think they were totally taken back by that. And that was like some interesting discussions over a 3 or 4 week or 5 week period that they were like, no one says no to Coke, you know? And at that time we had some good entrees into healthcare. And so we just shifted the company over to healthcare. And we ended up focusing on an application that takes patients from all the disparate healthcare systems. It aggregates them over to an application on your device, and then allows the physician or healthcare provider to tap on a name of a patient and then perform what is a routine thing, certainly back then, which is a dictation. So they're all dictating notes. That's how the notes were created. So we engaged the digital processing chip of the handheld. We engaged our software to formulate a nice schedule or rounding application. So you could go in and say, okay, I'm going to work my hospital from ground floor all the way up to to the top 8th floor, and here's all my patients I need to see. And when I get to patient, let's say Paul Adkison, I can tap on Paul Adkison, and then I can dictate, and then I hit send, and it goes over to the dictation company, and they're translating that and transcribing that. And that's what we did, and we started doing really well at that and expanding it and spanning it. Fast forward, we sold that company in 2016.
Okay. So how long were you with the company?
We started it in 2001. Probably started working on it in probably 1999, honestly, and playing around with all the stuff there. But in 2001, I think that's when we officially launched the company, and then we exited in 2016. Okay. So that was the first venture that I led, and I had the bug since day one, since I was 11, really trying to do something of my own. And that was it. And then
I'm sure the iteration that you were talking about that you first started with in 2001 looked very different by 2016.
It was. We had morphed from a dictation company to basically an EMR light. So we had patient, obviously all the patient information coming across in a kind of a cross-pollination of your workflow. So in healthcare, probably getting too deep a little bit, but in healthcare you have, where you work in your clinic and where you work in your hospital, and typically they're not connected, and the data was disparate, and which is producing a problem because you couldn't take your historical clinical information on this patient that you've been seeing for X amount of years over to the hospital where they're seeing, and then you had to go. I mean, it was a mess. So we kind of collided that together, helped that. And then performing certain tasks like dictation, capturing a charge, being able to say, I was here, I rounded it on them so the doctor could collect their money, because a lot of them weren't collecting their money. And being able to get all of your information while you're in the hospital. So you could tap on Paul Adkison, you get my labs, you get my transcribed history reports, what location I'm in, who are the doctors that are attending to me. So it just provided a lot of information. It was a difficult task to do. It was a Herculean effort to do all that. Less about technology and more about the political will of people wanting to interface with you. So I learned a lot about interfacing, and interfacing in a good way and interfacing in a way that they didn't like, but it was what it was. What
would you say was your biggest hurdle from that venture?
I was a total rookie on financing the company. And so it was, I had to learn as I go, and I made some mistakes. Picking your financial partners and having a good game plan is a critical element of success of a company. You can pick some wrong financial partners. You can get people on your board and give you guidance that best suits them and not suits the company. So you really have to be strong-willed and focused on who your partners are when you're picking the right partner to finance you.
Right.
So that is I think a critical element of the long-term viability of a business, is making sure you're picking the right venture or PE or people, or having the control in the company that you can control. And I learned that unfortunately the hard way, but it is what it is. Yeah. I wouldn't do that again. So I did learn that.
Okay. So you said in 2016, that's when you guys exited. Did someone acquire the company?
They acquired the company. A publicly traded company called Fusion acquired it. I think they're at that time maybe 1.1, 1.2 billion in revenue. and they acquired us, and they've, I think now, they have our platform is completely populated their whole environment. So
awesome.
Yeah. So yeah, it ended up being. It could have been a lot better if I'd have planned better. But this is one of the things that you start doing things in 2007, 2008, 2009 that really come back to haunt you in 2016. So there was some people made pretty good money on that, and I did okay, but we'd like to do better.
Yeah.
But I'm not doing that again, and I haven't done that again. So totally repurposed my efforts around, how to fund things, how to finance things, and I feel like I got a doctorate degree in how to do that in the whole private equity game.
Yeah.
And it's a tough learn for an entrepreneur. Especially when you're scaling up. I mean, we had to raise, probably $45-50 million, and it was that's a lot of money. You can't go to your dad and ask for that, right? You can't go to your aunt and your best friends and all that. That's well beyond their capability. So you got to go to sophisticated people, and you need to be able to understand how that all tracks.
Yeah.
So it's a good life lesson. It's a good life lesson.
You're saying you did that in the beginning of the business, or around 7 or 8?
Periodically. I think we went through 4 rounds of financing.
Wow.
So it's a lot of money, to create what we did and to go into healthcare in such a big space and vertical. It's you have to have you're competing with big players. I mean, like McKesson, which at that time was, I don't know where they are right now, but they were like Fortune 5. I mean, you're competing with people like that. Yeah. And they have a lot of money, billions upon billions and billions of dollars, and they're competing head on with you. And it's hard for a startup, and you got to get in there, and you got to do the solution well, but you have to fund your company the right way, and you have to scale the right way. And if you miss things, then that's going to be a problem. And it's hard. I mean, if it was easy, everybody would be doing it. And there's just a reason why, no one wants to really do it. And if you do it, most people don't succeed. And but you measure people by failures and getting up. Yeah. And trying again. That's just the entrepreneur creed. It's the man in the arena. So that's what you have to do.
What would you say was the advantage of your company when you were coming up against these Fortune 5 businesses? I mean, clearly, you guys made it. What would you say was the thing that set you all apart?
I think that one of the downsides of being a small company is you were small, so your resources were very limited. But the upside of that is you're very nimble. So you could turn. I mean, I could literally, as the CEO of the company, I could walk into my chief architect and developers and say, okay, here's what we're going to do. And we're going to have this done in 2 weeks, and I'm going to deliver it to the customer in 3 weeks. And so we're going to do that. Very difficult for you to do that at a large company. It just takes so much. They're going to make you do a bunch of paperwork. You have to do a product requirements documents. That's going to be approved by so many committees and everything like that. So that gave us an advantage, and we tried to use that all the time in getting sales and getting customers. And in fact, those Fortune 5 companies, Fortune 100 companies tried to buy us several times. Retrospectively, I probably should have sold out. That was some bad advice I got. When you're around a table, and at that time, paper money, I might have looked like I worth a lot of money, but the reality is I wasn't. It was all paper funny money, But I was sitting around a table with guys who are worth, literally hundreds of millions of dollars, and they're making decisions that, were maybe on their side of the table better than what on my side, So they thought the company was worth 10X, and people were giving us X, and X would have been fantastic for a lot of people. So just
but they wanted to hold out to see if
they wanted to hold out for something better, for a bigger payday. And, that's a tough lesson to learn when you look back on it. And, but nonetheless, it was a great lesson. So, now what I'm trying to do is try to spin that forward, and use that to be, we myself and I have a business partner named Scott Diggs, whom hopefully you'll have on at some point. We try to look at this now as being seasoned entrepreneurs, as being a friendly entrepreneur, and trying to have the same hat on as the founder of the company. and trying to give them good guidance on, we could probably wait for another 2 years and it'd be better for us. But right now, this is a game changer for you. It's a game changer for you is like, first of all, to get a win as an entrepreneur is huge. To exit a company is huge. It's a huge deal. It's a very hard thing to do.
Right.
But then also, when you start putting money into your pocket that is a significant amount of money, by almost anybody's standards, it's hard not to say and look at that person as an individual and a family and how that changes your family and your kids and your kids' kids and, how it changes the employees who put so much blood, sweat, and tears into it. It's kind of, so we have more of a holistic approach to it than just it's all about me, the private equity guy, and we're going to do this. And so we really try to do that and advise our people to make the right decision, not only for the company, but for them as a individual. And I think that's I sleep better at night. I sleep way better at night doing that.
So just to confirm, so you and Scott basically own a private equity firm. Is that what you're saying?
We have a small, I would call it private equity. A lot of people call it home office. We invest our own money. We don't go out and, hey, give me your money, then I'll invest it. We don't do that. Okay. We will certainly take other people's money when we come across deals, and we will do that individual basis, and we do it pari passu to whatever we're getting. And I'm not making any fees off of them. Right. I just can't charge a fee for someone, to take their money and put in a deal. A great example is the hotel we built in downtown Greenville. So we built the Hilton Garden Inn in downtown Greenville, which I just stayed there last night. Great stay, had a fun time. And we put in a significant amount of money into that hotel, but we have, maybe 14 to 20, I forgot the number exactly, but investors who put in with us, and we're not making any money on them. We're not charging them anything.
Right.
We just felt like there's two things about that we liked. Number one, we wanted to get the community involved, and there's kind of like the time, talent, and treasure, of concept. People can give you their time, they can give you their talent, but when they give you their treasure, they're in. Right. And so we wanted certain people and certain types of people within the community to be really invested in the hotel. And that's very important to us. Getting into not only just, of course, the Greenville community was paramount, and then the East Carolina community was paramount. But we wanted to get people that were, in Atlanta, in Dallas, in Charlotte, in Raleigh. And so that's what we really focused on is building a community of investors that would propagate the hotel, not just give us money, because we could go out and get the money from multiple sources. It's just we wanted this to be special and have basically pirates and people of Eastern North Carolina participate in this so that they could really raise this hotel up and be what it is currently. Yeah. And it's going very, very well. And that concept is working. We're applying the same logic to our UNC Chapel Hill hotel. Okay. We're looking at doing one down in Miami. Same concept. So that's what we've done. And we did a hotel in Sherrill, South Carolina, which is...
Where's that at?
Exactly. That is, if you're going from Charlotte kind of towards Charleston area, it's down there. It's an hour outside of Charlotte, going southeast. And it's it's not a university. We tend to like university plays for our hotels.
Why is that?
Well, we feel like that there's a couple things happens at universities. Number one, when the economy is good, people are trying to always come back and get education to improve themselves, to jump into a different thing. When the economy is bad, people are always trying to get education and improve themselves to get a better job. So we feel like that's kind of a net neutral. And we love the ability during both an up and a down market that the university drives a lot of activity. And we don't really like resorts, resort type, because that's very cyclical with the what's going on in the world. And it just gives us an opportunity where if you really partner with the local government and also the university, that it drives a really solid base of rooms. And it's kind of and typically universities are in smaller towns. And so we like the tertiary markets that we can go in and dominate. So we don't ever do a B location. We do the A premium location, or we just don't do it. Right. And we don't want to be a hotel in New York City. That's just not what we do. I'd rather be the hotel and the only hotel or the best hotel in Greenville, North Carolina at the premium spot. And that's what we've done. We did the same thing in Chapel Hill. We have the premium spot at Chapel Hill.
Is that one open yet, or is it still in progress?
It's in progress. We're being developed right now, but it literally is like almost Main and Main. And it's the closest one to the university.
How do you get those kind of spots in places that are so historic?
You got to pay a lot of money, and you have to be diligent about it. You have to have good partners to go out. We have a great partner in John Sandlin with Sandlin Investments, who's done a fantastic job of looking at land and places and that. So he's done a really good job on that. And of course, we were pretty plugged in Greenville and kind of knew the marketplace. And then we were also, and most of this is true. I mean, we're customers. And so we're sitting there going to Greenville and we're like, we don't really like the options in Greenville. I feel like I was going to a hotel that was outside of the Greenville proper and having to come back in to go to dinner and then go back out to my hotel. And it was kind of felt like weird. Yeah. So yeah, it's a unique thing to pick out a location, but we like, university settings. We like underpinned by the federal government. We like tertiary markets, getting the A player location, and I think if you pull all that together with both the community and the university connecting, I think you've got a winner. And that's what we have here currently in our hotel downtown. And have you been there yet?
I have. I've been to the rooftop. One of my good friends. It was like her last night in Greenville, and we went out there.
All right. What'd you think?
I loved it.
Yeah?
I love the views. Honestly, I feel like there's not much in Greenville that's so high up that you can actually see everything.
It's kind of different perspective, isn't it? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we really liked it.
Someone did I think it was a TikTok. I don't know. I'm not a social media guy, but someone did a TikTok or an Instagram, and they did it from the rooftop, and the sun was coming down. It was kind of at night, and they did it, and it was just so cool. It got like 10 million views.
Really?
Yeah, it was amazing. And funny enough, it ended up being one of my classmates from high school's daughter who did it. Yes,
wow.
He's reaching out to me going, "Hey, is this your hotel?" So it got a lot of views and it looked amazing. But when you look from that perspective, it looked like you were like in a real city, and it was just like really cool with all the lights out. It's a different perspective for most people to see Greenville.
I was gonna say I feel like maybe I saw this TikTok or I saw a similar one where someone was like, "Which Greenville is this?" So
it could have been.
I think I do think that places like your hotel kind of do give that like more city vibe to Greenville, but in a good way. And I'm curious too to hear like what is the response that you've heard, I guess, from like other alums or people who have stayed.
Well, our hotel is performing very, very well. Our management team, and Brett Morgan is our general manager over at our hotel, who's phenomenal. Mm-hmm. Just super engaging, friendly. Just does everything he can to make that a great thing. And it's just his personality just to want to win and be number one and have a team around him and promote the team. But he is, I think that I've heard a lot from him and a lot from alumni and just general people that they love the hotel. It's much needed. You come in, it's relatively easy to park. So we have a huge parking structure right next to us that the city of Greenville built. So
that's not y'all. So that's like a City of Greenville.
Yeah, City of Greenville. In fact, Alan Thomas was mayor when they pulled that off, which I know was a pretty big feat.
The one behind you guys.
Yeah, the one behind us. Okay. Yeah. And so we're using that, and so it's easy to park. And sometimes Greenville downtown can be hard to park.
Yeah.
And so this makes it easy for our patrons to park, and rooms are comfortable. It's a small lot. If you look at that before we built the hotel, you're like, how'd you get that there? But working with the Greenville government and a couple of private people in the lots around us, we were able to acquire that. But the feedback has been wonderful. The 1717 is doing really well. People love it. Oh, yeah. The food is great. Mm-hmm. It is not a typical hotel food kind of place. I mean, last night we did order a lot because I want to taste some of the new stuff. But we had, there's like shrimp pasta, and this was crushed vodka pasta. So we
interesting.
Yeah, we cross-marketed with Brett's company, Crush Vodka, and we're able to create a really cool dish with his little spicy kind of pasta with some shrimp in it. And then we had lump crab cakes, which were fantastic, handmade lump crab cakes, and then a bone-in pork chop, which was fantastic.
All sounds pork. Delicious. You're making me hungry.
It's good food. It's not normal food. So we're pretty proud about that. But very good feedback across the board.
Awesome.
So we're very, very lucky. And so I was mentioning Brett and his team just recently were presented an award for Hilton, and were recognized among all the Hilton Garden Inns. I think there's I could be wrong on this, and but it's 3,000 something Hilton Garden Inns.
Yeah.
We were in their main basically show for Hilton in their award ceremony. We're the number one this year from an opening hotel standpoint.
Wow.
So it was a huge deal for those guys. I mean,
That's
it was
so good.
Yeah, we were recognized.
What metric are they looking at for that? Just
I don't know all the criteria, but it was, obviously financial performance was strong.
Right.
Guest satisfaction, they take guest satisfaction. Both Hilton and Marriott take, and we do both Hilton and Marriott, but this one, they take guest satisfaction very seriously.
Right.
So when you're filling out comments, that means something in this world. Sometimes it doesn't. It goes into the file 13.
Right.
But in this context, that is taken extremely seriously. And when we get a bad comment or bad rating for somebody, that is bumped up to the top level. It goes immediately, because we don't want that to happen.
Right.
Especially among our what we call frequent flyers, which is the Hilton Diamond Club members and stuff. So, but they were recognized as being one of the top hotel brands, and we just opened up in February.
Yeah.
We opened up February 26th.
Not even a year yet.
Not even a year.
Yeah.
So it's pretty amazing what they've done.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I definitely can say I appreciate all you guys do for Greenville. I know there's a lot kind of behind the scenes that you and Scott have done over the years, and I appreciate it.
We are actively involved in both Greenville and East Carolina. We've been on the business school, we've been on the foundation. I think I was one of the people who gave you the entrepreneur award that you got. It was amazing with your business and everything. I think that, God, you were I don't know, were you a sophomore?
I was a sophomore in college. It was 2018.
Yeah.
I was 20, well, probably 19 at the time.
Yeah, you're beyond your years. This is not normal. Yeah. This is not normal. But yeah, you had it really together. That was an awesome event. Yeah. I think you're the first, right? Were you one? Yeah.
Yep, I was the first. I had no idea what I was getting myself into.
Well, what do you think about that now?
Oh, I mean, it was definitely one of the best things that's ever happened to me. The funny story is that the whole reason I entered is because Nick and I were walking on the mall at ECU. We were still engaged, and he was my fiance at the time, and he saw a sign that said Pirate Entrepreneurship Challenge, win money for your business. And I was doing my little Etsy shop in my apartment, and he was like, maybe you should enter that. And I was like, oh, I don't know. And I went to the Miller School of Entrepreneurship during one of their open hours, and Corey Polito taught me what a pitch was. It's
so awesome.
It's cool to see especially on hindsight's 2020, you see all of the people like you and Scott and other alums who have poured, your time, treasure, talents back into the Miller School of Entrepreneurship and the College of Business, and all these resources that people have put in place because of stories like what you shared of things you've learned in your business and over time that you want students to, go in knowing that rather than having to learn it the hard way. Yeah. And so to get to see that past alums who cared enough to do that for people like me and how it was able to make an impact on me. And then now the Isley Innovation Hub exists, which I'm wow, if I had been there when I was a student, that would be so cool. Right. But now I'm getting to experience a little bit of that. Leaving ECU better than you found it. Van's definitely done that a million
100%.
times over.
Yeah.
But it's cool to see that, pirates supporting pirates and, especially in the business school. And maybe I'm just a little bit biased, but.
Well, you're biased in a good way. And I am too. And I think that, paying it forward is the way to contribute. And that's what you're doing. So it's amazing to see. Now, from the moment you entered that contest until you won and then moving forward, what do you think changed your trajectory? Do you think that really kind of changed your trajectory of that?
I think so, but it wasn't the money. It was the mentorship and the people who were pouring into me. I always saw it as something that would be my side hustle. or that maybe, my fiance was majoring in engineering. So the typical thing to do would be that Nick would go get this really good engineering job. And then maybe this would be like my job while I stayed home with my kids, or like it would allow me to stay home. Or maybe I would have like an interior designer job or some other job, and this would be what I did like in the evenings to make extra money for our family. And again, I think some of that's just how I grew up. My mom was a nurse. My dad worked at Food Lion, but when he wasn't working at Food Lion, he would work on cars. He would cut down trees for people. Like he was just kind of like doing all these things to support the family outside of his job. So I think I had a little bit of that. And, my husband grew up, his dad, airline pilot, mom was a nurse. So like a lot, like no business thoughts really ever came into our brain of like, oh, like this could be a business. And then having the people at the Miller School of Entrepreneurship say like, no, like there could be something here. Like you got to fine tune it some, but there really could be something that's beyond just you. And it's now we have, I keep forgetting how many like total employees we have at a given time because we're in a growth mode, but we have about 12 and we have a 7,000 square foot warehouse in Aden and are just growing right away. So
that is amazing.
Yeah.
That's just it's remarkable coming from basically your apartment,
Well, my dorm room. I started in my freshman year.
Dorm room over to what you have today. I mean, that is the quintessential entrepreneurial spirit right there.
Yeah.
So I love that.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, I love that.
I actually remember meeting you and Scott, and just getting to hear y'all's stories definitely inspiring as a student to help me see like what could be.
Yeah, and I think that's what we all need to do. And I think that's one of the, unfortunately, the shortcomings that East Carolina has not done well. And we have not been able to publicize the wins. And I don't mean the win like you won a bunch of money, you sold a company and made a bunch of money.
Right.
Because that's not people's jam sometimes. They don't really, some people just don't care about that. And I love that. But we haven't publicized the winners. And the winners, I mean, we have phenomenal teachers that came from East Carolina, phenomenal nurses, doctors, engineers, people who are working within businesses, people who are, so we need to be able to do that, because I, as a student, just like you, when I see someone who's at my same school, who looks like me, talks like me, thinks like me, walks like me, I'm like, well, I could do that job.
Right.
I could do that job, and we need a lot of different people up there on stage and to be the spotlight on them to show what they're doing in their life, and that would inspire students to do something like that.
Yeah. And
that's something that we have been talking about, certainly myself and Scott have been talking about for a long time. And maybe that's one of the reasons why this podcast could go viral and get it going and spotlighting people and giving them an opportunity. The long format, I think, for me is way better than the 30-second or 10-second clip on TikTok or something. You just can't get enough out of it.
Yeah.
For me.
Right. No, I couldn't agree more. And my whole thing with the podcast is that everyone has like some kind of tie to Greenville. And a lot of it has been alums or people who are from here. So it's been kind of cool to highlight a lot of stories that, people just don't know. Like you tell them a story of a business that's local here or has ties here, and they're like, I had no clue that was in my backyard. Like we had Edgecombe Furniture on. So talking about your hotel, Bob's a 5th generation furniture maker, and it's located here in Pitt County. He's got like 200 some employees making furniture, and his biggest customers are Hilton and Marriott. So it's possible. I'm not going to guarantee it, but you could flip up the sofas and see if it was made in Pitt County. How cool would that be?
I hope that's so. Yeah. We try to do as much. I mean, actually, we were just meeting with the culinary team at Hilton, and I told them, I said, I want as much locally sourced product as we can get. And I told them, and literally like 3 months ago, that we're going to take crushed vodka and we're making something out of that in the kitchen, So that's just an example of what we want to do. And then we're going to have some kind of, pork product that is really good. So yeah, I totally believe in that.
Yeah. The local is awesome. But I've got some questions to ask everyone. So,
all right.
What is one small thing that made a surprisingly big difference in your business? Any that you've touched, I guess?
Small thing that made a big difference in our business. I think you touched on it really, and I think that is, mentors that have the added value to me as a person. And again, I would say that a lot of life is picking the right partner, whether it be your significant other or whether it be your business partner. You have to pick the right people around you, and that is a critical element. I think some of my mentors have guided me in that, and I've made some mistakes there, and but that is probably a smallest thing that end up being the biggest thing is picking your partners correct. Picking them for the right reasons. So
that's good. And if you could go back in time and give yourself one piece of advice when you were younger, what would it be?
Ooh, I think one of the issues I have is I don't like to fail. And I think I'm kind of like a dog with a bone. I don't want to give it up. And sometimes you have to fail fast and move on. And so I think that would be the advice is fail fast and move on.
That's a good word. I need to hear that. I don't think anybody likes to fail, but I do think that sometimes it's just like, I think it's a little bit of like us drive and people who are like really good at sales or, business in general.
Right.
I like to win.
Well, failing is necessary.
Yeah. Right.
I mean, it's just necessary. And so there is no one who will sit in this chair who hasn't failed. Now, it might be a fail within the business that no one knows about. It could be a catastrophic fail that that everybody knows about.
Right.
But there is no trial and error without error. Mm-hmm. It just doesn't exist. And that goes back to one of my kind of mantras is the man in the arena theme. Yeah. Your face is blood, scarred with blood and sweat and tears, and you fail and fail again and you get up. And so failing is a necessary thing that you have to go through as a human.
Yeah.
There's no way around it.
There's not. And besides your business, what's one passion or hobby that recharges your batteries?
Something I need to get back into that I've been so focused on other things, but I love to fly. So I love to fly, and that's just a passion thing because it's one of those things when you hop into the cockpit of an airplane, you need to be very focused. Nothing else can come in your mind. No personal problems, no business problems, no anything like that, or you will die. You will kill yourself. So that is like a personal cool thing to do. Just the fact that a person could hop in a machine and fly is pretty neat.
Yeah.
First time I did it by myself, I was like, I can't believe I'm doing this. And actually I flew to Kinston.
Okay.
That was my first flight.
Awesome.
All by myself. Flew into Kinston and has like the longest runway, I think, on the East Coast. You couldn't miss it.
Yeah.
Couldn't miss it. So yeah.
Cool. When's the last time you flew?
It's been a while. It's been a couple of months. But I used to fly all the time. But I've been so focused on business and I sold one plane. I'm in the process of getting another one. So it's been a couple months.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I think I might know the answer to this, but I'm still curious to hear it. If someone was coming to Greenville for the first time, where would you take them?
You think I would say the Hilton? 1717? The first place I would take them would be to meet Jim Westmoreland.
Oh my goodness. I love Jim.
You can't, if you could just meet him and I could just drop them off to Jim Westmoreland and let him take them on their...
Take them on a bus tour around Greenville.
They could have 4 degrees from 5 different universities and they would be signing up for East Carolina, right? Jim knows everybody, right? And we actually named our conference room after Jim Westmoreland. Yeah, it's the Westmoreland room.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. What an awesome person,
He is awesome.
Yeah.
Love Jim. But he goes to 2 churches on most Sunday mornings. And
does he really?
Yes, because it's Jim. And he the church we go to is I think it's usually his second stop. So sometimes we catch him in the lobby and get to see him. He's a great
an
guy.
Amazing person. He was one of the first people I met at East Carolina from a teacher standpoint or from a mentor standpoint. And he was giving me guidance on this is what you need to take, this is where you need to go, this is what you're trying to do. And he was been there since day one. I mean, literally. And he would, I met him, and then like maybe 2 weeks or 3 weeks later, I saw him on campus. he knew my name, and he was yelling my name across the way. And I mean, I was like, who is this guy? Why am I so important? And I realized that everybody's important to him.
Yeah.
And that's just the gem of Jim Westmoreland. He's just an amazing person.
I couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
And how can people find you online or on social media?
You know, I'm not a big social media person. LinkedIn is probably what I use. And you have some people that manage the LinkedIn account because I just don't, that's not my thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, LinkedIn is where to go look me up. So pretty simple, pretty straightforward. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much for coming on, Paul. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah,
it's great to hear how well you're doing and what this is scaled into. And I'm glad your family's doing well. And it sounds great.
Cool. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
and
thank you.
Thank you for tuning in to this episode of Shop Talk with Radiate Prints. We'll see you next week.